Hello everyone. So this is a late video going over the new patch notes for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds version 1.3.1. So, as it starts off, thank you for your continued support of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Today we're releasing patch version 1.3.1. In this update we've expanded the racing experience, improved online modes, and increased reward amounts. Thanks to an active online player base capable of supporting multiple matchmaking tools, we have changed the system so that you can play World Match even during festivals. We appreciate all the players' feedback and patience, and we're happy to introduce this update for our dedicated Sonic Racing CrossWorlds community. In addition, we've put a renewed focus on rings. 8 new ring-related gadgets have been added, along with the new bonus ring frenzy mode. We also have a string of new collaborations planned, starting with Mega Man, so please stay tuned. Thank you for playing Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. So getting right into the update changes, we have mode updates. World Match can be played during festivals. Dompa ticket rewards have been increased by at least double, and World Match and Legend competition. The new Frenzy modes have been added to all modes except for Time Trial, obviously. And the maximum rating has been increased by 10 times. Next we have the content updates. 8 new gadgets, the new Frenzy mode, new 8 tracks for the jukebox, and new collaboration decals. Next we have new options. We can now change the button of the gadget button for triggering specific abilities. As well as now we can disable the rental plates from automatically equipping during festivals. Next up, other additions and adjustments. They did balance adjustment for races and gadgets, as well as bug fixes. So now we get into the actual details. First up, World Match can now be played during festival. Is this really going to change a whole lot? Not really. If you're going for things like the top 1K titles, this could affect the amount of players for like the second half of the festival, so that last day, because you won't have people who are trying to get it at like, or just playing just to play the game. You're going to have people who are either really low, trying hard to get that 1,000 points for the whole battle pass, the whole festival thing right at the end, as well as people grinding out, but you're not going to have people in the middle. So it could be a bit more try-hardy if you're really grinding out the festivals or the top 1K titles, but it could just be, you know, nothing. Next up, World Match maximum rating has been increased by basically 10 times. This is just a leaderboard thing. If you maxed it out, then you have another long journey if you really want to max it out again. Next up, Dompa ticket rewards have been increased. And yeah, as seen on this chart for World Match, starting at the bottom, it's more like 2.5 times, and then the difference changes up to only doing double in first place. But it's still very nice. As for Legend competition, it's kind of crazy how you got less tickets from it, but now you will get more tickets than World Match in Legend competition. So that could be more incentive to play Legend competition just for the tickets. It's overall, this is a nice change. Next up, festivals. Adjusted CPU strength based on differences in player skill. I'm taking that as they are buffing the bot players, because the bots would always get last place. Unless you... There was one time in a festival where me and our team, we got the bot into 4th place, and we got max points. We were basically treating the bot like it was the president. We're like, get down, Mr. President, here comes a boom boo. Next, we have added new rules to make festivals even more fun. I'm taking that they've added new game modes, as opposed to changing core mechanics of the existing game modes. As for what those new game modes could be, I don't really have an idea. It could be maybe some gadget-based ones. I'm not really sure what else there is off the top of my head as I'm recording this, so who knows? We'll probably see, because they probably have one of the new ones planned for Mega Man. Next, we have a new Frenzy mode, Bonus Ring Frenzy. So now there's a bunch of floating 10 rings all across the track. As shown in the images, it appears to be the same locations that the item boxes from Item Box Frenzy would be using, but now they're just 10 rings. So this will be a neat another Frenzy mode that you can get in your regular matches, but especially for ring grab during festivals, this is going to go pretty crazy. Next up, we have new music. We have a whole new album of 16 songs. Granted, half of them are the final lap versions, so there's only 8. We got Magical Sound Shower from Outrun, Let's Go Away from Daytona USA, I believe. Solon Desert from Sega Rally 2. We have Like the Wind Beat Course, as well as Like the Wind Reborn from Power Drift. Outright a Crisis from Super Hang-On, Main Theme from Enduro Racer, and God Only Knows, which is a Eurobeat song featured in one of the Initial D arcade games. I don't know if that can get you copyrighted if that song appears. With sound effects going off, maybe you'll be fine. Next on the list we have the collaboration decals. So we got Joe Musashi, we have Five Guys, we have Menchie's, I believe this is pronounced Fogo de Chao, and then Funko Pop. So if you want to have a Funko Pop of Sonic on your car, you can now do that. We also have a little line here about that they've updated content for future live operations. I believe that this means that they have put certain files in the game that just make it easier for updating, but I'm not too sure. Next up we have the Gadget Additions and Settings, which introduces a new Gadget button setting, so you can change the button for the Activate Gadgets, which right now is only just for Inventory Swap and Summon Item, which is one of the new gadgets they just added. This feature has not been added to the Steam or Epic Games Store versions, as they already allow for custom key assignments, so this is a console change only. Next, auto-select rental plate is an option, so you can turn that off so you don't have to worry about how every time it's a special game mode in the festivals, it'll always pull up the rental plate. This is especially annoying when, say, you leave a lobby because maybe the group you're with, someone's leaving, and then you go back in to queue another match, and then it puts it back on, and if you forget, well, now you're stuck with the rental plate for a race. It was always very annoying, and this is nice to have to always have it disabled. They do mention that there is an issue where when you turn auto-select rental plate off, the transition animation that plays when race rules change does not display correctly, and that this will be fixed in a future update. Now next on the list is the gadgets, but I want to cover that at the end, so I'm going to skip over that. Now for this next big thing out of this patch notes besides the gadgets is the competitive balance adjustments. And they have this to say. With version 1.3.1, we're aiming to expand tactical variety through gadget customization. We've added new gadgets and adjusted existing gadgets to enable new playstyles, such as spending held ring as a resource and gaining benefits by intentionally holding no ring. Along with this, we've expanded ring gain gadgets to further support these new strategies. In version 1.2, strategies involving continuously gaining invincibility from ultimate charge have become dominant, so we shortened its invincibility duration. Since this changed risked making comeback strategies from lower positions too strong, we also shortened the duration of the drill item when used from higher positions. In addition, because strategies for climbing from 4th to 8th place still had challenges, we strengthened Collision Boost, which serves as the starting point for tactics that move players up the ranks by colliding with other machines. Gadgets with similar effects, such as Ring Thief and Spin Drift, are also intended to become more effective through this adjustment. We will continue balance adjustments based on the gadget usage rates and win rates. Now, into those specific gadget adjustments, we have Collision Boost, which is also part of Power Machine Kit and Power Character Kit, and they have increased the duration of the boost. And they have stated, previously, Collision Boost gave only a momentary speed boost and often failed to result in moving the racer up in position, so we adjusted it to make it more effective in overtaking other racers. This change is really nice because Collision Boost didn't really get you anywhere. If people were grouped up, it did, but if they weren't, you kinda just only got a little bit ahead of the one person that you bounced off of. The next gadget on the list is Crash Pads, which now triggers a ring having effect when hit by Ring Thief. This is a nice change because Ring Thief was the only way to bypass Crash Pads, because it always had a have any rings lost from any items or even crashing into a wall. Ring Thief was bypassing this, so now Crash Pads is consistent that you only ever lose half rings no matter what the source is. Next on the list, the big one, Ultimate Charge, which is also part of the Handling Machine Kit. Reduce the invincibility duration on a level 4 boost from 3 seconds down to 1.5 seconds, so they cut it in half. They have then stated, Ultimate Charge was designed as a racing-focused gadget that lets skilled players block attacks. However, as player skill has improved, it was enabling far more defensive opportunities than intended, making it difficult for other gadgets to compete. This adjustment creates a clearer opening after activation, preserving the original idea of rewarding players' skill in defending against attacks, while still giving others more chances to counter. This is a big change. Now, I still think you are going to still see people running Ultimate Charge in front running. because the ability to block attacks like the King Boom Boo is a big deal. However, you can overwhelm them, as well as things like the Dark Chow. You have to use it pretty late because the Dark Chow takes so long to actually throw the item box at you. Because you have the portal, the Dark Chow comes out, floats there for a bit, and then throws the item at you. If you wait too long on the ultimate charge, you can still get hit with the Dark Chow. This definitely does make it so that a lot of people will probably abandon ultimate charge, and we do have new gadgets that also could see use in becoming new meta for front running. But ultimate charge, the ability to block a King Boom Boo, as well as just items in general and preserve defense items and whatnot, that will always be something that's going to be at the top for front running. If you're thinking that ultimate charge is dead, no one's going to run it, you're a fool. Ultimate charge will truly die. Well, it still won't be truly dead. But ultimate charge will really fall off when there's another meta that's good for front running. Next, Acceleration Character Kit removed Mini Ring Thief from this kit. Due to its high win rate and the increased customization options made possible by new gadgets introduced in version 1.3.1, we've reduced the number of effects bundled into this kit, which it did have quite a lot, as before this change it had Slipstream Bounty, Ring Game Boost, and as stated, Mini Ring Thief, on top of having the stat adjustment if you were using an acceleration character. All those gadgets combined would normally be 4 slots taken out of your plate, so you're getting a whole free extra gadget. So it is kind of fair to remove it, but I don't think it's not gutting the whole thing. While this is a nerf, it's not a huge nerf. If you were still running Slipstream builds using this kit, you still can use it. It's just that you're not going to get the ring boost from hitting players anymore, but you still can make this build work. And lastly, for this section, we just have a nice quality of life where the gadget button UI will now gray out when the swap is not possible when you're using the inventory swap gadget. Just something nice so that now it's not always on the screen and you're better able to see, hey, I can't swap it, instead of being like, hey, I'm pressing the button and it's not working. Now you can see that the game is telling you you can't do it. Next, item adjustments. First thing on the list, because using the drill item made it too easy to jump into first place in the final lap, its effect duration has been shortened when the player is in 4th place or higher. Furthermore, the speed drop that occurs just before the drill effect ends now happens earlier. Huge change. This massively affects bagging because drill was the most powerful item. But now, if you are in a high position, it will cut itself short, on top of the fact that now this speed drop happens sooner. Now, I haven't tested this myself yet, but this is still a pretty huge deal. You still can use this towards the end, but it's no longer going to be you jump into first place and have a huge lead, potentially, like say, for instance, the end of Wonder Museum. You use it on the final turn and you're in, say, 4th place, and you zoom past first place down the ramp, and as soon as you come out of it, you look back in the rearview mirror and the guy's like 2 seconds behind you. You know, he just now landed from the jump, and you're like halfway to the finish line. That's not going to happen anymore. Now, bagging still is a thing, because you can still use the Wisp boosts, as well as Laser, as well as the Monster Truck. Laser might be the new thing to go after, because if you're in, say, 4th place and everyone's kind of close, Laser will just take you into 1st. So the new bagging meta is probably going to be getting triple Wisps and a Laser. Even a Monster Truck will be nice, because at least that is extended invincibility. Next item adjustment is the special item box, which is the blue item box that usually appears on the 3rd laps of some tracks. Had low competitive value, so its item lineup and appearance rates have been adjusted. Now, I don't know about appearance rates, if that's talking about the appearance of items in the thing, because I haven't noticed anything where it's located in different spots, so I'm pretty sure it's talking about the appearance rate of items. So in other words, the odds of certain items have been adjusted, as well as the item lineup has been changed. And it seems to be the case because I tested it on Sand Road only one time. I just decided to go hit it, see what it gives me. Because usually if you're towards the front, it'll give you something like triple green gloves. That's the most iconic meme-worthy thing. And I got a triple Wisp boost, which I don't think I've ever gotten out of it before. So they have adjusted it, and we're going to have to wait until someone posts, like, here's all the odds of the special item box now. But overall, this makes it a lot more enticing to actually go for, because it was always, you go for it, and what do you get? Triple green gloves. Wow. Slime. It's at least something. Or even, here's 100 rings on the last lap, where most of the time you probably already have 100 rings. Wow. Overall, nice change. I'm glad that I'll now have a reason to potentially go down a different path to get the special item box and get something good. And the last thing for item adjustments is that Item Box Frenzy, they have adjusted the box placement and behavior to make the items easier to get. Which is very true, because sometimes I'll always be coming up to the item box right as it lifts up, and then the next one same thing, and the one after that same thing, and I'll go halfway through a CrossWorld without getting an item. This will make the Item Box Frenzy actually feel like it's tons of items going around, because it's an Item Box Frenzy. Next, online adjustments. Fixed an issue where desync caused by network conditions could unfairly allow other players to steal item boxes. I'm pretty sure this is just like, hey, sometimes a person could be in a position they shouldn't be in, and they get the item box, and then no one gets the item box. Like, essentially both players see each other as ahead of themselves, and because on your screen, on your version of the game, they hit the item box first, it disappears, so essentially no one gets the item box. I think that's what it's referring to. Could be wrong. Either way, you will now more legitimately get item boxes or not get item boxes that are more appropriate to what is actually happening in the race. Second thing for the online adjustments is that CPU racers were too likely to be in the lead early in a race, affecting player-to-player interaction, so we reduced their pace right after the start. This does not apply to rival races, such as those in Grand Prix. I don't think this was too big of a problem. Bot racers would always be at the front of the starting grid, but I never really noticed this being a problem because usually they get passed within like 10 seconds, people are passing them. I'll take it because, sure, get those CPU players out of the race, put them in dead last. Most people don't care. Next, we got some team match adjustments. First, ally CPUs were sometimes too slow and put players at a disadvantage, so we've increased their pace. This does not apply to rival races, such as those in Grand Prix. I would also assume that rival races, when you're doing Race Park, would also count as part of this. So, if you're thinking that your matches in Race Park, trying to get like those challenges done in there, are going to be easier, not really. But this does mean, I would assume that this would apply to festivals when you have a bot racer on your team, so that's good. You won't have dead weight entirely. They'll still probably get last, let's be real. Next up, powerful items had a greater impact than intended in team matches, so their drop rates were reduced. King Boom Boo in particular diminished the benefit of running in the lead outside the final lap, so its drop rate was lowered. This isn't that big of a change. Sure, I've seen festival matches where you have one Boom Boo used, and then you go past one set of item boxes, and there's another Boom Boo being used. There certainly have been times where Boom Boos are coming right back to back on each other, but one of the strats that people use is their team will get a Boom Boo and then just not use it, because they would rather hold it and make sure no one else gets a Boom Boo rather than use it on lap 1 or 2. So I don't think this is that big of a deal for lobbies where you have people doing that strategy. Next, we have Super Team Boost made it too easy to return to the front, so its duration when far from first place was shortened. To increase the advantage of running in the lead outside the final lap, the duration of Super Team Boost when triggered in upper positions was increased. So this stops people from just like completely bagging and being like half a lap behind and still catching up by the end and then taking first place. And this is doubly made so with the fact that now durations in higher positions last longer, which makes front running a lot more enticing, which is great. This combined with the King Boom Boo change, both those changes make front running a lot more of a viable strategy and stop bagging so much. Add on to the thing with nerfing drill, front running is now a strategy that doesn't have as many cons to it. And there's not like an easy like, oh, I'm just gonna bag for a drill and get easy wins. So big boost to front running in festival matches especially, except for, you know, the ultimate charge nerf. But maybe people don't need it as much with these new gadgets. Maybe people will experiment with new metas. Next on the list we have course adjustments. Adjusted ring and item box placement in Pack, Village, and Maze and Sky Road where there wasn't enough risk-reward balance. These adjustments do not affect time trial. Now I've seen the Sky Road change. I believe what I saw, the shortcut paths where you go inside of the turn and it has that narrow path underneath it. That now has rings in the first part, and on the second jump that goes into the second turn, that has 2 sets of double item boxes. Because I think that it was either like, there was like no rings on the first one and like only a single set of item boxes, like just 2 sets of 1. Overall, as it says, risk-reward balance. Now if you choose to take those paths, you actually get something out of it, and there's a decision to be made, like, do you want to take the regular path and just, you know, be on the main track, or do you want to take this alternate route where there's rings and item boxes now, even if it may not be faster. As for the Pack Village and Maze, I'm assuming, because I actually haven't checked this one either, but the only thing I can think of, because it would have the same mindset as Sky Road, is probably that first big open section where all the ghosts are. They probably adjust it by making a double item box and rings on those like side paths, like hard left. There's like a boost path, but like no one goes it because you have to go super hard left and then have to make a super hard right so that you don't run into the wall. Overall, it means that there's more variety and more decision making on which way you're gonna go through those sections of those 2 tracks. Nice changes. Next, we have other adjustments. Expanded the title screen display to accommodate upcoming festivals and legend competition titles. They just basically sectioned off, saying like, here's all the titles from, say, the Miku Festival, and then the next one is here's the Minecraft section, where here's the Minecraft titles. Same thing with the legend competition. It just sections everything off so it's not all just like a continuous row. It's a nice change, it keeps things a little bit more organized and nicer to look at. Next, when playing as Tangle, her tail could sometimes block the camera and obscure the view of the course. We adjusted the tail's movement so it no longer obstructs visibility. I've never played as Tangle, so I don't know how bad this is, but nice change so that now people can see the course better. In the Epic Game Store version, direct input controllers can now be used. And lastly, in World Match, Festivals, and Legend Competition lobbies, air play points will now decrease if a player intentionally disconnects or closes the application. I don't like this change. I get why they did it, but I don't like this change, because this is mostly seen in festivals or even in World Match for some people, because if you're playing with a group, sometimes one player out of your group may get disconnected when the lobby is found. And for festivals, since there is like a party bonus when you have people together, as well as people want to keep their win streaks, people will just instantly disconnect so they can get their friend back in the lobby and they could go as a full party again. This change means you are now punished for disconnecting to try to get your friend back in your lobby. Granted, if they fix that from happening, the random disconnects, then this is good, then this is like whatever. But as it stands, I don't necessarily like this because what this means is that, oh, you got disconnected? Well, you gotta wait for your friends to finish their match. There's no, they're gonna disconnect themselves and then remake the lobby. They have to finish the match unless they want to lose fair play point. Which I do believe if you lose enough, you do get a matchmaking restriction, which is really bad then, because now that person just can't play. So I really hope that they fix those random disconnects when you find a lobby as a party of players. Next section is bug fixes. Jukebox fixed an issue where certain classic Sonic tracks would disappear from the jukebox after performing specific actions. Updating to version 1.3.1 will automatically restore and unlock all affected tracks. In festivals, fixed an issue where animations did not play correctly during the festival award ceremony when using AI racer skins. Fixed some unintended designs for Hatsune Miku Festival titles, and there's the picture here, so they added the yellow on the right side. Legend competition fixed an issue where the grade up animation displayed before the actual required rating. I had this happen to me. Basically, it would say that you went up to the next rank if you were like a point off. At least that's what it was for me. I was a point off and it gave me the next rank up, but at the same time, I also wasn't the next rank up. Really weird. Time trial fixed an issue where achieving a goal time identical down to the last 3 digits to a rank target incorrectly resulted in being graded 1 rank lower. Past records will not be updated. So if you tied the A rank or S rank time, it didn't actually get the A or S rank. Now you will, however, if that had happened before, you still have to do the time trial again. So it does suck, because you still have to at least tie your time now. You have to do it again, at least tie your time in order to get the rank, or, you know, just beat the time. But hey, good that they fixed it now, and not at all. Next, online competition. Fixed an issue where collisions with other players' machines caused excessive slowdown when pinned against a wall. Thank you, because that is so annoying when you're just driving and then someone just comes in and starts ramming you into a wall and it just completely kills all your speed. Next, An issue where invincibility durations could appear longer than intended due to network issues was fixed by synchronizing invincibility and timing correctly. So this should make it so that if someone used a shield item or ultimate charge, you won't have issues where potentially they are getting hit, but because of server desync, they still had invincibility even though they shouldn't have. Overall, easier to hit people as soon as their invincibility runs out now. Machines. Fixed an issue where boost-type machines sometimes did not bounce correctly on collision with other machines. Fixed an issue where being hit by an item attack while drifting or jumping caused the machine to float too high. Frenzy Time. Fixed an issue where boost frenzy ending during item selection. Frenzy Time. Fixed an issue where boost frenzy ending during item selection could result in not receiving an item. Fixed an issue where Omochao warp activating when being lapped during boost frenzy sometimes made items unusable. Next on the bug fix list is courses. Fixed various course-specific issues. On Urban Canyon, drifting and air tricks sometimes became unusable after passing the third transformation gate. On Market Street, early split path on the hill caused a dramatic temporary position drop. So I believe this is talking about when you go up the ramp on the right to then go immediately left and get on that higher portion. Whenever you get on that turn, I guess there was an issue with how the progression is counted through the lap that would cause a position drop. Now, that shouldn't really cause too much of an issue because it's not like there's any items right there, but now with some an item box, that could be a problem, so it's been addressed. On Coral Town, Homing Punch and Slicer behaved incorrectly near the final corner. On Chow Park, players could sometimes be launched off course in the second corner after the jump area. The way I'm reading this is they're not talking about where you jump through the air and there's the swinging pirate ship. They're talking about when you go up the roller coaster on the first turn and you come down, there's that auto like drop section that you get bounced on that U-turn. I've never seen that happen, but if that is the corner they're talking about, that's nice that it's fixed. On Aqua Forest, we have two changes. There would be odd behavior if a player took damage while crossing the first dash ring, and after the third transformation gate, the machine wouldn't transform into water mode. On Minecraft World, we have 3 bug fixes. Players would be unable to enter the final portal on third lap and return to the main course. Players would fail to transform into flight mode in the last section of the track on third lap, and BGM failed to play correctly on the third lap if set from Jukebox. On Hidden World, players would fail to transform into land mode at the final transformation gate. On Dragon Road, Dark Gaia Phoenix's flame attack when the river splits could hit players even during charge jumps on water, fixed by making it easier to avoid by jumping. On Digital Circuit, players would fall endlessly out of bounds at the intersection area in the final part of the course. Additional minor gameplay issues were also fixed. And for the last bug fix, the Warp Ring item and the Warp Ring Specialist gadget. When using the Warp Ring item, an issue occurred where players could perform major course shortcuts or jump several positions at once. This has been fixed in the current version. With this fix, the item can now be used more reliably in offline play and friend matches. However, because future course addition and online player behavior could still cause unexpected issues, the Warp Ring item and the Warp Ring Specialist gadget will not be usable in World Match, Festivals, or Legend competition. We sincerely apologize to players who are looking forward to using them. They will remain available for use against CPU opponents and in friend matches. So now we know why the Warp Ring was always banned, and unfortunately it is still banned. They fixed the bug, but because of future DLC courses potentially having this bug on them as well, they're still not allowing it. However, you can use it in friend matches. So if you play in online private matches, you can use the Warp Ring, but otherwise you can't use it in public lobbies, unfortunately. And last thing on the list is current known issues, which all it is that there's a bug showing an extra Dompa ticket reward after reaching World Match Legend Rank 1. When that doesn't exist, there is no reward at that point, and they're just going to remove it at some point. But with that, now we can get to the real meat of this, the one thing that everyone was looking forward to, the new gadgets. We've added 8 gadgets. These gadgets can be obtained once your gadget plate reaches Master Plate or higher. We have 2 gadgets in the Ring Gain category, which is Champion Bounty and Route Planner Bounty. In the Ring Ability category, we have Less is More, Ring Doubler, Ring Engine, and Hyper Ring Engine. In Item Control, we have Summon Item Box, and the Upgrade/Add Item, we have Go Go Omochao. Now I'm going to go, even though I said this out of order, I'm going to go from left to right, top to bottom. So first up we have Summon Item Box. It is a 2-slot gadget. You press the gadget button to spend 40 rings and you will instantly roll for an item. Next we have Go-Go Omochao. Omochao distributes rings for 8 seconds and appears 7 times more often, which according to the gadget spreadsheet that I'll link in the description that shows all the gadgets and all their stats and whatnot, is a 9 times multiplier to the odds. And the odds really are increased because I got an Omochao back-to-back in first place. Now I didn't get the first one in first place, but the second one, I was already in first place using an Omochao and I got another Omochao right afterwards. Next gadget, Champion Bounty, which is a 3-slot gadget. Get 3 rings every 1.5 seconds while in first place, and 1 ring every 1.5 seconds while in second or third place. Then we have Route Planner Bounty, which is a single-slot gadget. When choosing a travel ring, get 100 rings and increase the ring limit to 200. Onto the bottom row, Ring Doubler, 3-slot gadget, double the rings obtained. Does not work in team matches. Less is more, 3-slot gadget, reverses the speed boost from collecting rings. It is quite literally reverse. In other words, having 0 rings is the same as having 100 rings without the gadget. If you get 100 rings while using less is more, this is like driving with 0 rings. Ring Engine, single slot gadget. When holding at least 1 ring, gain +3 driving speed and +12 in all stats, but lose 1 ring per second. And finally, Hyper Ring Engine, a 2-slot gadget. When holding at least 1 ring, increase all stats equal to ring count, but lose 1 ring per second. Now, to discuss these gadgets more in depth, Summon Item Box, spend 40 rings, get an item. Overall, if you do a heavy ring gain build, this can be nice to keep getting more items. Could be useful in something like Shootout inside of festivals. In normal racing, could be useful for front running perhaps, to allow yourself to get items in first place. It is a 2-slot gadget, so you do need to make a build dedicated around this gadget specifically. You need to give it some ring gain so that you constantly have rings to spend as well as rings for speed. I'd say it's a decent and unique gadget added to the game. Go-Go Omochao. Omochao is not necessarily a amazing speed item unless you combine it with, say, Ring Boost. If you combine this with a Ring Boost gadget, this Omochao can be a very nice item to have, especially with the fact that you can use him in first place. He is an item that you can get in first place. Well, it being 2-slot, once again, you would make a build dedicated to this. So definitely you would want to slap on like a ring gain boost. Whether if it's the 2-slot version, you only have 2 single slots left. So probably better to use the single slot mini ring gain boost, and then have like full 3 slots for whatever else you wanted to run with it. It'll be interesting to try out. Champion Bounty. This one, it being 3 slots, is way too many slots to be worth it outside of ring grab in festivals. Inside of festivals, getting that first place and getting 3 rings every 1.5 seconds, oh yeah, that's 100% worth it. But it also comes at such a heavy risk because if you can't get into those first slots, into the top 3, but specifically first place, if you can't front run with it, it's kind of not good. I don't think Champion Bounty is going to see much use out of people who are really good at front running using it in ring grab festival. Otherwise, I think this one is just not going to see use. And the same could be said with Route Planner Bounty. To a less of a degree, it is only a single slot, and it is nice to basically get a full 100 rings and increases your ring limit to 200, but that's it. This gadget does not do anything for the first lap of the race, and is a passive effect only for the second and third lap, which is just that you have the 200 rings. In a way, the best way to look at this gadget is it is the 200 ring limit gadget, but a single slot form, but it's an all or nothing. Either you're in first place at the end of the first lap, and you get 200 rings now as your total limit, or you get nothing. But even then, why do you even want 200 ring limit? The only reason you'd want that limit that high is if you're using one of the gadgets we'll talk about later, which is the 2 ring engine gadgets, or you're using like a summon item box gadget. If it's not any of those, this one is not really worth it. You should only ever put this on if you just have an extra slot and you're willing to take the chance on having it either be completely useless or decent for whatever build you're running. But I don't expect to see this one used that much because it really is a gamble on whether it even does anything for your build. Next, Ring Doubler. 3-slot gadget. Doubles all your rings obtained. but does not work in team matches. So you don't have to worry about this being a forced gadget for your ring grabs and festivals. It's purely just for reaching 100 rings twice as fast. You get that speed boost. And it being 3 slots I think is definitely warranted, but at the same time, it comes at such a, 3 slots is deserved, but at the same time, 3 slots is kind of a big amount. Like combining it with like a single ring gain gadget, like runoff bounty, is insane. Like runoff bounty, you just boost to an off-road section on like E Stadium, oh that thing takes you all the way up to 100 rings in just a single boost. But I don't think you should run ring doubler, unless you are using it with something like either, once again mentioning it here, one of the later gadgets, the ring engines, or if you're using summon item boxes, because that basically cuts down the cost in half if you want to think about it that way. But I think ring doubler is also one that people are not going to use that much, because it really was going to be something people only looked at for the ring gain, for the ring grab festivals. Less is more. A 3-slot gadget. I'm surprised this is a 3-slot gadget. I think it should be a 2, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it deserves to be 3. But all it does is it reverses the speed boost from collecting rings. So if you're at 0, it's equal to 100 without it. 100 is equal to 0. So you want to stay at 0 rings, which is kinda hard trying to dodge rings on the course, because you would want to always stay at 0. Like hitting a single ring is a problem. Now this can combine with the ring engine gadgets, which are the next 2 we'll talk about, because those take rings every second, but you only gain benefit from the ring engine gadgets if you are holding ring. So it sort of is that you're using less is more. So if you use those together, you're kind of just using the ring engine gadgets not to actually gain a benefit from them, but to lessen the penalty of gaining a ring while using less is more, which is taking up 4 slots. Like if you just use base ring engine, which is a 1 slot, we'll get to it, that's 4 gadget slots dedicated to just keeping 0 rings for the max speed boost. I really don't think that's worth it. I think less is more is a gadget that you can definitely try in something like Shootout, where people are going to be constantly hitting each other, and you probably will be at 0 rings, especially considering that in that mode you typically won't even reach 100 rings. And so being at a low ring count because you're constantly getting hit is something. It's better to be like, hey, I'm just going to get have only like 5 rings, which is the equivalent of having 95 rings, which you probably normally wouldn't get in a shootout. So I feel like less is more is for shootouts, as opposed to you running it for a specific build. Because even though there are the summon item boxes, you have to get enough rings to do that in the first place. So you have to collect 40 rings to even get that boost. It being 3 slots is a major turnoff, I think, for this gadget. The last 2 gadgets we'll talk about together because they are very similar. We have Ring Engine and Hyper Ring Engine, which are both 1 slot and 2 slot respectively. They both have a similar mechanic of you lose 1 ring per second while having these gadgets equipped, but they do slightly different things. For regular Ring Engine, when you're holding at least 1 ring, you gain +3 driving speed and +12 in all stats. So this is just something to give you a nice passive boost to your vehicle in all stats for just a single slot. But you do have this constant draining ring effect, so you're definitely going to want to pair this with a ring gain. But considering it's a single slot gadget, the way I view single slot gadgets is that these are not the core of the build. These are things to complement the build. So I see this as a stat increaser at the cost of a ring that you would put on a build that is centered around ring gain. So if you are someone who likes trying to get as many rings as possible to get up to 100, and you have a slot to spare, say, in your build, you could put Ring Engine on to get even more stats, and because you have a build centered around ring gain, you can keep up with the losing a ring a second. But the real gadget, with the real effect, is the Hyper Ring Engine, where instead, it increases all stats equal to ring count. Now I did some testing here, and I'll put some of the footage on screen. It is quite literally the number of rings you have is the numerical value that all of your stats are increased by. Now it doesn't overcap past 100. So for instance, I had a 0 speed Amy build, and it took me getting all the way up to 100 rings to reach that same speed of having a 100 speed build, which I tested with a Sonic build. I don't think the Sonic build is showing on the footage, but I know what the speed is. I tested also with a 50 speed build, and once you get to past 50 rings, you are basically at that 100 speed value. Obviously give and take a little bit because of the actual ring boost in speed, and it does affect all stats. I was noticing that my boosts were charging a little faster, handling was getting better, acceleration, well, I'm not really stopping, so I can't really see that, but it is increasing all your stats. So if you have an average car where everything's roughly middle of the pack, you basically have max stats at like 60 rings, which is kind of insane to think about. But I'll get back to that idea in just a second. The other thing that's nice about this, now the best thing to do with this gadget is to run it with a bank increase, so I always increased my ring limit to 130. Now, Hyper Ring Engine increases all stats equal to ring count. However many rings you have, add that number to your stats up to the limit of 100, and that's the stat of your vehicle. In other words, Hyper Ring Engine allows you to make any vehicle max stat, all 100. Max speed, max acceleration, max handling, max power, and max boost, at the cost of losing 1 ring per second. If you run Hyper Ring Engine, it does not matter what character you are using or what vehicle you are using, because if using this gadget properly, every vehicle is max stat. Now, you're gonna probably want to pair this with ring 130 limit, just so that you can keep that 100 limit of rings, that max speed boost by having 100 rings, and not have to worry about constantly losing a ring and going back down to having 99 rings and losing half of your speed boost, because half of the ring speed boost is that 100th ring. Overall though, this gadget basically means it does not matter what vehicle or character you use. Every character is max stat. So this is a very nice gadget. It feels very good because your boosts are super fast, your handling is really good. It just makes you feel super. It quite literally makes you feel like you're in a super form vehicle, which I mean, you're losing 1 ring per second just like Supersonic. I really like it. I have this build going on in the background this whole time, and this is against level 10 AI, and it feels even easier than doing the power vehicle acceleration character kit build that I used to do. I'm gonna play around with Hyper Ring Engine a lot. It does feel though that you are kind of railroaded into using ring 130 limit, so that's already 3 out of your 6 slots being dedicated to just this. But for max stats, I think that's kind of worth it. And you just have the bottom 3 slots to put whatever other gadgets you want on the build, which is probably going to be ring gain of some sort to constantly keep up with the ring loss that you're getting every second. I think Hyper Ring Engine could be another meta, but there's one thing for sure. If Hyper Ring Engine does make its own sort of niche meta, or becomes the meta, it basically destroys any character vehicle combination in the game, because it makes everything max stat. The only time stats matter is when you have no rings. So I'll be playing around with Hyper Ring Engine a lot. I really like just having these max stat vehicles, because it feels so good to just have a vehicle that basically is breaking the game, in a sense, because it has max speed with max boost, max handling, like you're turning as fast as you can, as hard as you can, while charging boost as the fastest as you possibly can. I'm getting level 3 boosts on turn. I didn't think you could ever get a level 3 on unless you just fully stacked boost gadgets on top of using a max boost character with a max boost board. You know, everyone was talking about like, oh, Whisper's gonna be the new meta character to use on Extreme Gear because they have the higher boost stat. Well, now it doesn't matter if Hyper Ring Engine starts becoming a meta because everything's max stat now. It feels like Hyper Ring Engine is like the syndrome of gadgets. It's like when everyone's max stat, no one will be, or something like that. It just feels like this gadget is just insane. But you do have to build your gadget plate entirely around it. As I said, you probably should have a ring 130 limit as well as a ring gain gadget that you can consistently proc, so you're constantly gaining rings to keep up with it. And with that, that's about everything for version 1.3.1. Only thing we don't know is, what are these new festival modes that they've cooked up? I can only assume that we'll see one of them in the Mega Man Festival. But with that, that's the end of this video. See ya.